Greetings and welcome back everyone to the fifth part of my Reassembly 500p tournament, where we are going to see Group D fighting head to head to find out who shall move on to the finals. The contestants are the Arachnid, the Wasp, Hive Launcher, UFO, Harbinger's Beetle, and a Mini Battlecruiser Mark II. Interesting to note, we have 3 ships at the very maximum allowance of 550, 1 ship at 510, the Arachnid, 1 at 516, the Wasp, and 528 Mini Battlecruiser Mark II. Now, let's get right down to it and see how this fights play out. We've got the UFO against the Arachnid. Now, the UFO has a fairly interesting design, proton swords. It's just moving in close and trying to slice off part of the ship. Whereas the Arachnid, a lot of it's a bit of mixed firepower. It's got lasers and some DACA as well. The UFO is doing quite well for itself, though. It's lost its shields, unfortunately, and I fancy that's going to be a big thing. But, actually, it did a fair chunk of damage there. And it's still trying to get in to take on its opponent. Well played, but it's going into an uncontrollable spin. That is not going to bode well for its proton swords. And there we are. The Arachnid finishes the job. Very nice design on the Arachnid. I like it. It's got some containers as well, by the looks of it, which is rather interesting. Now, the UFO managed to get some good hits there. It's managed to take down the shield and cleave off part of the Arachnid. But whether its thrusters are going to survive getting in close enough to finish the job, I don't know. The Arachnid does have a lot of firepower to dissuade the UFO from getting in too close. And there we go. Managed to charge up its lasers and finish the job. Okay, now we have the UFO versus Harbinger's Beetle. Harbinger's Beetle is using a fair bit of missiles by the looks of it, and has a bit of DACA close up as well. I'm really liking the look of the Harbinger's Beetle. This is a very, very attractively designed bot. A lot of work has been put into making this look the way it does. It looks like. I like it a lot. But let's speed things up, because at the moment UFO is just too afraid to get close. And Harbinger's Beetle is not able to hit it very well, so this is probably going to be a rather boring match, unfortunately. So I'm going to leave the speed up. But as long as Harbinger's Beetle can get a couple of hits, then it will go through on points. But the UFO is absolutely averse to getting any closer than this, which is a shame, because that's pretty much what the UFO is built for, is getting close. Now, it's up against the Wasp. Let's see how this one goes. So it's been up against an Arachnid, a Beetle, and now up against a Wasp. How is the UFO going to handle this one? Again, some long-range DACA. The missiles is just really, really worrying the UFO. It doesn't want to get anywhere near it. And it looks like we're going to have a pretty much exactly the same thing that happened with Harbinger's Beetle here. So we'll keep the speed at ×8. I won't go any faster than that, although I could, because I'm not going to be able to guarantee that I will be able to react fast enough to slow it down should they actually get into a bit of a scrap in close quarters. But it looks like the UFO is just absolutely disinclined to get anywhere near that. Okay, let's see how you do against the Mini Battlecruiser Mark II. Now, the Mini Battlecruiser Mark II, again, has some missiles, or is it just drones? No, no, they do have missiles as well. Missiles and drones. How is the UFO going to deal with this? More or less exactly the same way. Oh, UFO. You have chosen the path of peace, it seems. You just want to dance in the sky. But these other ships, they're just gravitating towards violence. You don't understand why. Why don't they just leave you alone? You just want to draw pretty patterns with your thrusters. I understand. I've been there more than once. Robocraft, Reassembly, pretty much anything where I can have thrusters that make interesting colors. I just want to draw in the sky. But everyone else wants to kill me. I just don't know. I can sympathize with you, UFO. Deeply sympathize. But there we go. Mini Battlecruiser moves forward. It seems the UFO is just giving everyone free wins today. And oh my lord. The ship is just all missiles. It's going to be exactly the same thing. Alas. And only a couple of the missiles are ever going to connect, though, well, those missiles are actually, wow, I've got to be honest. The Hive launcher is fantastic. I'm really liking it. It's flying with its missiles as if they were drones. It's glorious. Absolutely glorious. Those missiles have an incredible turning capacity as well. But I doubt you're ever going to do enough damage to get through the UFO's shield, so it's just going to keep running away. Alas. So let's go up to 8 times speed and see how this plays out. Exactly the same way. And once again, in fact, this time I'm going to speed it all the way up and just watch the points. There we go. And the Hive launcher moves forward. Well, thank you for participating, UFO. I'm not sure if you're the only one that has literally won no battles, but you at least gave your best effort versus the Arachnid, I think, in the beginning. Largely because the Arachnid has no long-range firepower. And that seems to be what's going to finish it off here, because the Harbinger's Beetle doing pretty good damage from a long range. And if the Arachnid doesn't get close enough to use its powerful burst laser to do some alpha damage, I don't think it's going to come out of this on top. That said, once it does get close, it does have a fair bit of DACA. But no, I think Harbinger's Beetle has this one. The Beetle will eat the Arachnid. Let it be known that this is the natural order of things in Reassembly. We'll have to find out which of these insect races will eat the Wasp, though, or whether the Wasp will eat them. Now, that was a bit of a prolonged engagement there. That's allowing the Arachnid to really bring its firepower to bear, but the incredible armor on Harbinger's Beetle is just denying the Arachnid any real progress. It's managed to cleave off the part of a horn-like structure on the Beetle there, but didn't do any real systems damage, other than a couple of thrusters that were stripped away. Okay, against the Wasp, which one will win? The Spider or the Fly? An age-old question. And it looks like, well, I wouldn't like to call it yet, because the Wasp does have long range, but the Arachnid isn't as dissuaded from engaging at close range as it was with Harbinger's Beetle. So I fancy the Arachnid might be able to take this one, but I can't say for certain. The Wasp is losing more and more of its vital systems. It's only got one missile launcher now, and if the Arachnid could have pinned it, or just caught it with its mandibles there and held it in front of itself, it probably would have been able to win that engagement. But if it only gets a chance to do a sort of flyby, then the damage will be minimal for a while. But well done there, Arachnid. Well done indeed. Now, let's see how the Wasp versus the Arachnid this time. Not too bad. That was a good engagement for the Wasp there. That's what it needs to do. It needs to keep the Arachnid kind of at arm's reach, but the only issue with that is the Arachnid does have a fair reach with its lasers, and if you go out of its range for long enough, it'll just charge that laser up. The Alpha Strike will be devastating. I think this one has already been decided, I'm afraid. Wasp, you are about to be devoured by a spider. It honestly, it seems to make sense to me. Oh, well, that said, Spider's getting a little bit shy of doing damage all of a sudden. But I think its points will carry it through regardless. Okay, next up, we have got the Arachnid versus the Mini Battlecruiser Mark II. And the Mini Battlecruiser using missiles and drones, how will the Arachnid fare? It's got the point defense to deal with the drones, I fancy, but the missiles maybe not as easily. Are you going to be able to do enough damage to the Mini Battlecruiser? I'm not sure. The Mini Battlecruiser does seem to be doing a fair chunk of damage with each pass. And the Arachnid just seems to be getting overly concerned with the drones and the missiles. Mind you, if you let drones pile up, that is in and of itself a terrible situation to be in, because the amount of damage they can do is deceptive. A single drone, not so much, but when you've got like 100 of them just circling you, yeah, that really adds up very quickly. But that long-range attack with its lasers is really helping it here. It's done some huge damage to the battlecruiser's thrusters. It's doing some good damage to its weapon systems. Which one is going to come out on top? I'm not sure. I'm going to say I think it's going to be the battlecruiser here. Has the Arachnid got enough? No, it did not. The battlecruiser, despite being a smaller craft with less armor in terms around its primary systems is doing very, very well for itself. But let's speed up time here and actually watch this engagement at slightly faster speed. We'll slow it down to 2 times speed when they're getting close, but otherwise we'll keep it out. There we go. And, wow, okay. The battlecruiser wasn't having any of it this time. Next up, the Arachnid versus the Hive Launcher. Now, the Hive Launcher really impressed me with the amount of missiles it could deploy. Is it going to be that effective against something that isn't just running away, though? That is the question. It looks like it is. Those missiles are way... There's far too many of them for the Arachnid to deal with its point defense, such that it is. Its laser could do a bit of damage versus the Hive Launcher, but not enough. I don't think it's going to be able to. No, I think the Hive Launcher is simply going to overwhelm it. Well done there. And from this range, there's really no contest. The Hive Launcher will eventually win. Okay, now we've got Harbinger's Beetle versus the Wasp. Right. The last pairing of the insectoid-named ships. We'll see how this one goes. Harbinger's Beetle has been a very, very strong opponent so far. That armor is incredible. I mean, it just doesn't just look like a beetle, but it kind of acts like one, in that it's got this huge armored shell and horns. And it just, wallows around. I mean, yeah, okay, this is firing missiles. That's not really something that beetles tend to do. There are some beetles that spit, but not many, as far as I'm aware. But I fancy that the Harbinger's Beetle just has the range to outperform the Wasp here. And it's just very quickly stripping it down. And every time the Wasp gets in close, the Harbinger's Beetle's secondary or auxiliary weapons just finish the job. Well done there, Harbinger's Beetle. A very, very strong performance, in my opinion. Very strong. Let's speed things up and see if it plays out the same way this time. It may... No, I think it will, yeah. The Wasp isn't able to really bring enough firepower to the fight to have any chance of getting through the Harbinger's Beetle's armor. But the mini battlecruiser, now this may... It's a smaller ship, well, significantly smaller, but it does have a lot of firepower, especially close range. Those drones probably aren't going to do too much until there's a large number of them because the point defenses are going to be too good. But wow, that was a good volley of missiles there. You've cleaved part of the mini battlecruiser off. Let's see, let's speed things up because right now they're just dancing around. The mini battlecruiser doesn't really want to get too close, but those drones are getting it enormous amounts of points. As long as the mini battlecruiser can survive, it will win. And it doesn't seem to be doing too badly in terms of taking out those missiles. Those drones are winning this for the mini battlecruiser right now. But if it can't keep up with the missile defense, it is going to go down. I think it's lost most of its anti-missile weapons, and I think this may be it for the mini battlecruiser. If it can hold in, if it can just hold in for another 14 seconds, I don't think it can. No! There we go. Harbinger's Beetle asserting its dominance once again. These missile barrages are doing fantastically well in this group. It seems to be a very missile-focused fight. Well, that is to say that the ship with the most missiles seems to win in these fights. Or any missiles in some cases. But there we are, much more decisive victory the second time around. Well done, Harbinger's Beetle, though. I was impressed with how the mini battlecruiser held in the first fight. Okay, missiles versus really, really many more missiles. Does this ship have any kind of point defense, though? That's the question. And will its missiles be able to get through the Harbinger Beetle's enormous armor? I do not think so. Harbinger's Beetle is just shrugging off the damage from this huge swarm of missiles. Let's watch that again. I mean, the first volley just flat out missed, and then it came back. No, the Harbinger's Beetle just does not care. Its armor is far too powerful. Okay, we've got the Wasp up against Mini Battlecruiser. I'm not sure which one of these will win. I fancy Mini Battlecruiser has significantly more firepower, but a lot of its firepower is spinal mounted, which does seem to give it add certain restrictions to how well it's going to perform. But in this case, it seems to be doing fine, especially those drones. And there we go. Mini Battlecruiser finishes the fight with the Wasp. Okay, next up. Let's see, is this going to play out exactly the same way? No, it has not. You've cleaved off the majority of the battlecruiser's weapon systems this time. Here's your opportunity. You need to finish this fast, because I feel that if it gets repaired, then you're going to have a very hard time. Well done, Wasp. Very well done. Pulled it back there. Okay, let's slow this down for this initial engagement. Oh, I think the mini battlecruiser came out on top there. The Wasp needed to do a little bit more damage, I think, to stand a chance. But alas, I do not feel it has done enough. The mini battlecruiser still has a lot of DACA. Okay, let's speed things back up again, and we'll slow down as they get in close. Okay, not too bad. Only take off a part of its shield. It seems that most of the shots are missing at the moment. And this is one of the things with spinal weapons, is that they can actually be really difficult to use properly unless the ship has enormous maneuverability. But the Wasp is having to deal with an ever-increasing swarm of drones here, and that is a lot of DACA coming its way. But it looks like it did okay. Alright, fair enough. Let's speed time up again. I fancy that the mini battlecruiser has this one. It's got too many drones on the field now for the Wasp to safely go anywhere. I think the Wasp really only stood a chance if it was lucky in that initial engagement and managed to do enough system damage to the battlecruiser that it couldn't recover. But in an even battle, I think the battlecruiser is going to outperform the Wasp, especially in a prolonged battle, because eventually it's going to have so many drones on the field. There's just no way that the Wasp is going to be able to go that's going to be safe. Well done there, mini battlecruiser. Okay, next up I think is the Wasp versus Hive Launcher. Right, okay, Hive Launcher, are you going to be able to do this? I don't think so. That said, I was basing that entirely on the fact that the Wasp was trying to get in close, but the Wasp seems to be happy outside. No, it has remembered its place, and it got in there and stabbed you in the eye. There we go. Well, Hive Launcher did have a chance there, and I think it still does, but it's really got to capitalize on its range. Because close up, the Wasp just has far too much firepower. Oh, that said, well done there, Hive Launcher. Okay. Speed things up and slow them down a little bit here. It's all down to whether the Wasp can get a couple of good hits when it gets in close, because at long range, Hive Launcher has a significant advantage, I feel. And I think the Wasp has lost its opportunity. Yep. Okay, final fight for this part of the tournament. We have Mini Battlecruiser Mark II versus the Hive Launcher. And that is such an impressive missile barrage. Honestly, it is. That opening attack is just glorious to behold from the Hive Launcher. Absolutely glorious. I don't think the Mini Battlecruiser is going to be able to stand up to this kind of firepower. Even with its drones chipping away at the Hive Launcher, I think it's a foregone conclusion. Those missiles are deadly. That said, though, it's doing a fairly good job of keeping them from getting too close. Well done, Mini Battlecruiser. I don't think you're going to be able to keep this up, but I am pretty impressed with what you managed to do. Okay, I'm growing less impressed the more you run away. Turn and face your fate, you scallywag. There we go. Hive Launcher has delivered the killing blow. Now then, let's see how this goes. I really think that if the Mini Battlecruiser could be a bit more aggressive and gotten in there initially, the amount of damage it can do in close quarters would have wrecked the Hive Launcher. But there we are. The battle is over for Group D, and we have a clear winner, Harbinger's Beetle, with second place going to Hive Launcher and third to Mini Battlecruiser. Now, interestingly, Harbinger's Beetle, 550. So, not too surprising there. Hive Launcher, 550. Again, not too surprising, but probably the worst ship in this group, possibly even in the tournament so far. UFO. Now, that is no reflection on iBlob Touch or anything like that. It's just interesting to note that a 550p ship, despite having that huge amount of points, did really badly. Now, I imagine iBlob Touch spent a fair bit of time testing this, so it quite often does come down to a bit of luck in whether the AI decides to act the way that it usually does when you've been testing a design, or decides to try something new and hilariously bad. I've read quite a few comments on the previous episodes that have hinted at that, and yeah, quite a few people have been like, well, why did the AI do that? It never did that for me before. I don't understand. And I can certainly sympathize with that. The AI does make some pretty interesting, shall we say, choices sometimes. But that is one of the things that I believe is coming in a near patch. The ability to kind of have a little bit more control over the AI on a ship or a fleet basis, and just kind of give it kind of key markers to tell it, well, you should try and do this, dodge more, snipe more, that sort of thing. But that is going to be the end of this part of the tournament. In the next episode, we will be playing with the final group. That's Group V, or Double D if you don't speak Welsh. And that will consist of Kabuto, Sakard, Fatal Spike, Sword, Camel 5's drone ship, and Arrow Tip. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and will be joining me for the next. But until then, and as always, do take care.